Hey guys, today we're going to be painting this cupcake. This comes in my DIY kit. You see it has the engraved lines here. Also, your paint comes in your kit and this pack of paintbrushes, which we'll be using. And let's get started. So first, I'm going to paint the top of this cupcake white. Also, I've included in your kit this little sponge brush. These actually work great to paint with. So I'm going to use this to paint this white since it's such a large surface area. And don't, just try to dip your paint just a little bit into the paint like this and kind of go, as you do it more, it will get more saturated with paint. So you don't need to just dunk the whole thing in and just completely, bury it in the paint. You want to go ahead and put a very thin coat of paint on your sign. Doesn't need to be too thick for this first layer. What I love about these sponge brushes is it doesn't give you thick lines. Like, it's kind of a very thin, smooth, even coat. A lot of times with paintbrushes, people will get so much paint on there that it will like look like this, and they're just coating it like this. You don't want to leave that because it's going to be lumpy when it dries. So you want to just kind of make sure that first coat, or any coat really, but the first one is nice and smooth. I think people have a tendency to do that with white because it doesn't cover well, and so they think the more paint I put on it, the more it's gonna cover the wood, and that's not how it works. I'm just going to be really careful along these engraved lines and kind of just go slow so that you don't get paint in there. Also, not putting too much paint on your sponge brush will also help with that. And so you'll notice that first layer is very streaky looking, and that's okay, because once you get your second and your third coat of paint on that layer, that is not going to show. So don't worry too much about that. Another thing I love about these sponge brushes is they get the sides really good. I always recommend painting the sides just because it gives it a nice finished look. I don't like sloppy, and I feel like sloppy is, half the sides painted and half of them not, and just not how I roll. So these you can just brush right on over the sides very, very easily. I get these little sponge brushes at Walmart. It comes in a little pack. They sell them other places, but I felt Walmart's prices are the best. And some sponge brushes that I have purchased from other places are super flimsy, and these are not very flimsy. So they are my favorite. And then after you do the sides, just go ahead and go around these edges and just make sure that sometimes the paint will get on the sides. You know, it will spill over on the sides as you're, or on the top as you're painting the sides. So you just want to make sure that you don't have those thick pieces there. So just kind of smooth it out as you go. And there we have that coat. So while the white is drying, I'm gonna then move to my next color, which is this. And for that, I'm gonna do a kind of an aqua blue. And for that, I'm just gonna use a paintbrush since my sponge brush has white all over it. And I'm gonna go with this number 8. It's kind of rounded, but I think it'll work good. Now these are smaller than what I normally would use, smaller paintbrushes than what I would normally use to base coat this sign, but I think it's good for you guys. You're not painting so much to fill an order or, you know, trying to do it super fast. You're doing it for the enjoyment. So I think in that situation, taking your time and using a smaller brush is not such a bad thing. So now we're just gonna go, and again, don't put too much, you don't want to dunk your paintbrush into the paint. Just get a little bit, kind of go back and forth until it feels like it's kind of running out of paint. And if you can see how I'm just kind of scooping a little bit of it off. And we don't want to have those thick paint lines like this. You don't want to leave this like that, because when it dries, it's just not going to look as good. So just try to smooth it out, make everything nice and smooth. You will need to do 2 to 3 coats of each color, so it will cover what you want it to after you do that. I do see some people that paint, they just kind of throw a color on there and they don't coat it a bunch of times, and you can do that if you want. I personally don't think it looks good. I like to have a nice professional finished look, and I think that by putting multiple coats of paint on there, that's really how you're going to achieve that. And just go real slow around the edges. I typically turn my signs as I paint them, just so I can get a better view of them. I think it's hard to kind of paint like this when you can't really see. So I like to be able to have a close look at what I am doing. So and now we're going to go around these edges, which, you know, again, just nice and slow. If you do get it in the crack, it's not a huge deal. You can get apple barrel paint from Walmart. They have a khaki color, and that's the name of it, khaki. It matches this wood pretty close. So sometimes if I get paint in there and I don't, on a particular sign, if I don't want it there, I will just get that khaki paint and a really tiny paintbrush and just kind of get into that crack and cover the oops up. So we're going to go through here. Slowly. one-handed, so it's easier for me to get edges like this going from this angle. You guys may be different, so do it however is easiest for you. Okay, there is that coat. So, also don't forget to do your sides on this. Kind of just, if you go down or across, should be able to get it pretty well. Again, make sure you go over the top like this and smooth out pretty quickly after you do that, just to get all that where it goes across that lip there. Okay, so let's just pretend I painted the edges all the way around. Next, I'm going to get some black. This is going to be our chalkboard area. Typically, I would use chalkboard paint, but it's really hard to find the chalkboard paint right now in the small bottles for you guys. So we're going to use black paint, which really honestly works almost just the same. So we'll put black paint over this piece. This is going to be like the chalkboard area, and I'm going to use this 5/8 inch that's just this kind of flat topped paintbrush, and I'm going to put a good coat of black on here. What you can do is maybe later on go buy some black chalkboard paint if you want, and just put like a layer over this. You can do that if you want, but the black paint will work as a chalkboard just the same. So you're going to want to coat this, and if you want to wait till each layer is dry before doing the next, you can. If you ever get like a piece in your, I don't know if you can see that, but just like a little clump of paint, you can just kind of scoop it off with your brush. But if you wanted to wait till the blue was dry to do the black so you could rest your hand on there, you can do that. I'm just trying to do this fast and efficient for you guys. Oop, got some in that crack there. Alright, and as you can see, I accidentally got some black here and here. If that does happen, you can either get like a wet paper towel or a wipe and wipe it off, or if you just wait till it dries, then you can cover it up with a wipe. Just don't try to smooth it in while it's wet, because then it will just turn gray. So there we go. That is my black layer there. Now, next I would go back and do another coat of the white. Get all that in the sides, and then another coat of blue, another coat of black, another coat of white, another coat of blue, another coat of black. So each of them would have like 3 coats. Some colors cover better than others, so some you only might need to do 2 coats, but these particular colors, 3 coats, I think is pretty well, and sometimes with the white, 4 coats. So I already have one completed here, so that we don't have to sit and watch me base coat 500 times. So after your sign is coated the way that you want, now we're going to do all the accents and the fun stuff. So first I'm going to start with some red, and then I'm going to take probably, let's see, maybe this number 3 accent brush here. You know what, before I do that, actually, let's do the sprinkles. I'm gonna do, since we're using blue and red, I'm gonna do blue and red sprinkles. So I'm gonna use this number 6, and then I'm going to just dip my paintbrush in the red just a little bit, and then I'm just gonna take it and go straight across like this. And I'm just gonna kind of add these random sprinkles all over the sign. Just space them out. The closer you put them together, the more you're gonna have to do. And sometimes more is not always the cutest option. Sometimes less is more. Okay, so I spread the red ones out. I'm gonna do the blue, and I'm gonna take this number 4 for the blue, and again do the exact same thing, and I'm just gonna kind of try to make them go a different direction than the ones around them, and just kind of fill in that white space with the blue. This rounded tip one doesn't work as good as that flat tip. So if you want to use a flat tip, you can just wash it off and then use it for your blue. Gonna get these little areas here, and if you want them thicker, you can kind of go over them again, or if you want them like the sprinkles bigger. Let's see. I think that's good. I really feel like we need something over here, but just not a lot. So I'm just going to do kind of a small one here. Okay. So now I'm going to take this number 3. This number 3, and I'm going to go with my red, and I'm going to make my cupcake lines right here. So I'm just gonna dip the brush a little bit in red, not dunk it again, just lightly dip it. You can always go over it again, but this is supposed to be just kind of very, not a heavy stripe. So I just kind of get the outside and just kind of, and it's okay if it kind of skips and it looks like that. I feel like it's better because you're not going to make it look perfect, and if you keep going over and over and over, it's just going to get thicker and thicker and thicker, and it's still not going to give you the look that you want. So I just kind of go with it, and if it's lighter in some areas, I'm fine with it. So again, I kind of do that. Sometimes I'll go up like that, and I think a lot of people overthink this step. And this is what I see most people struggle with. So just be okay with it not being perfect, because it's not supposed to be. So I'm going to take this here and just kind of do a stripe. Be sure you lift your brush up as you get closer to this, because you don't want to, go over. If you do, it's fine. You can cover it up, but it's just an extra step. And then I'm going to kind of just go down here, this, here. And then now I'm going to go across the top and kind of follow these lines of the cupcake. Just like that. And now I'm going to get another, this one's number 5. I'm going to do the same thing across the top with the blue. And maybe not trying to cover up the red, but just kind of trying to go just a little bit beside it so that both colors show. That. Now I'm going to take this number 2. I'm going to do white down here because it kind of looks dark and we need something to kind of brighten it up. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the red, just in white. Again, try to follow, don't go right on top of those lines, but just so that you can see both. Like that. Sometimes I'll go back, like with these particular colors, I want to go back and just do a little bit more red so that it's nice and bright. Just needs kind of a second coat. And again, this just depends on what colors that you use. Some you won't need to do that. And now I'm going to take the smallest brush, this 2.0. I'm going to do just a tiny bit of black just to kind of tie everything in. So you don't want it real heavy and thick. I'm just going to kind of put my brush in it like this, and then I kind of blot it off just a little bit so it's not real thick. And I'm just going to kind of do a very light coat. This just kind of adds a little bit of contrast to it, and I just feel like it really makes it pop. And there you have it. There's the cupcake. So I'm gonna put a piece of chalk in your kit for you, and I want you to, after this is dry, just put this chalk on its side and just kind of run it across the surface of your chalkboard. And this is what you call priming the chalkboard. Just kind of puts a layer on there. And let me get something to wipe it off. And you're going to just kind of erase it. My accent lines are still a little bit wet, so I'm just trying to be really careful. Obviously, you can do a better job of that. I just don't want to that paint wet. And so now you can just write whatever you want on here. We're just going to do happy birthday. Or you could put somebody's name there. Or if any of you have vinyl cutters, you could cut out a happy birthday and put it up here. And then put the person's name here. I'm going to try to start offering those, but for now I don't. So you could also jazz it up with some glitter paint. If you wanted to put some glitter paint over your sprinkles, you could do that. You can find it in the craft section, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, where the paints are. They have glitter paint. It's really easy to use. You would just use those same brushes and just kind of brush over. Or you could also do lots of different colors if you wanted to. I just did 2 colors here to make it easy, but that's another option for you. Also in your kit comes this rope hanger, and so I'm going to show you how I do it. I just take the end of this hanger and tie just make sure y'all can see that, tie a knot here, like that. And I'm going to take this other end here, and I'm going to run it through this hole. Sometimes it's hard and it's fraying, but if you'll see, it's kind of twisted. So I just try to twist it in there, going the direction of those twists, if that makes sense. And I just kind of pinch it and just kind of twist it around until I get it through. Pull it through, and then do the same thing on this end. And I tie it in a knot here, like that. And now you have your painted cupcake with the hanger. So there you have it, guys. That is how I paint my happy birthday cupcake. Don't get too anxious or nervous about it. If you mess up, just paint over it and start again. It's just paint. So have fun with it, enjoy, relax. You always do a better job when you are nice and relaxed. Okay, see you later.